Okay, so we're continuing our discussion of our Ajax callback. So now that we know what state the current row is in, we need to find out how many other customers there are from the state. So let's go ahead here, and here you can see is the SQL command that we would like to execute. We're going to do a select count star from customers where bill state region equals, and then instead of hard coding the state in here in our SQL, we use an argument, and arguments are a very powerful feature in AlphaDAO because they protect you from SQL injection attacks. So our SQL command is this, and now we've in effect defined an argument called whatState, and we need to set the value of the whatState argument. So in line 37 we create a new variable args, which is a SQL arguments object, and then in line 39 we create a new argument called whatState, and we set its value to current state, which is of course New Hampshire. Then in line 40 we execute the SQL, and since flag is true there was no error, but if flag was false there would have been an error. If there was an error, this is how we're going to handle it. The first thing we'll do is close the open connection, because we now have an open connection. Then we'll compute the error message that we'd like to send back to display to the user, and in this case the actual reason for the error is going to be stored in CN, which is the connection object .callResult.text. So this is very important to check your errors when you're executing AlphaDAO, and whenever you execute AlphaDAO and there's an error, the error will be stored in the callResult.text property. So again, we JS escape the message in case there are any illegal characters in it, and then we compute our JavaScript command, and then finally we send the JavaScript back to the browser by setting the function name to the JavaScript command. But since there was no error, our script continues. So now we create a result set object, and we get the result set by looking at the .result set property of the connection object. So now we have this result set, and we can now get the record count by looking at the data in the first column of the result set. This result set of course is only going to have one column because our select statement was a count star statement. So the result set that gets returned is only has one row and one column. So over here we're basically going to be reading the first column in the result set from the first row of the result set, which gives us our record count, which in this case is 2, and since 2 is less than 5, we construct our error message which says you can't delete this record. Now the single apostrophe in can't is a reserved character, so if we look at message now after it's been JS escaped, you can see that the single quote has been escaped now, and it now says \single quote, which has made it now safe for JavaScript. So there we go ahead now, and we return this message to the browser, and you can see now if we just hit run and we look now, we can see there's our response over there. Now let's go ahead and see what happens when we do the same thing on a record that is eligible to be deleted. So let's go there and do Massachusetts now, and just go there and choose, say, Dean Cohn, and we'll quickly go through the first part here because we've already discussed this. Now you can see now this time the record count was greater than 5. Let's just double click on record count there, and let's delete those two. So the record count is 15. So now what we're going to do is, the first thing that we're going to do is get the primary key of the current row, and that's going to be in E_current row keys 1. So E_current row keys is an array of primary key values. In this case the primary key is a single field, but in the case where your primary key is multiple fields, like say first name, last name, then you'll have an array with as many entries as there are keys, as there are columns in the primary key. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video.